Let's talk a little bit about perspective. My perspective at 5 foot 6 inches tall is different from our dog's perspective at just over 2 feet tall. So what does this have to do with photography? Well, imagine that we are all holding a camera at eye level and standing the same distance away from a stop sign. While the nature of our photographs may be the same, each one of us would have captured a different view of the same subject. In photography, understanding and utilizing perspective techniques can make a huge difference in the photos that you take and the stories they tell. What exactly is perspective? Well, there are two meanings that pertain to photography, and both are equally important to the outcome of your image. The first is personal perspective. The first definition involves the mental viewpoint or perception of the photographer. This refers to how the photographer wants the subject to be perceived, or what the photographer wants to tell the viewer about the subject through the physical viewpoint. Imagine a puppy sleeping in the middle of a living room floor. If you were to focus on the puppy, the viewer might get the sense of peacefulness and quietness. Now, if you were to capture the whole scene in the photo, what you might find is a pile of laundry on the couch waiting to be folded, and two other children fighting over a toy just a few feet away from the sleeping puppy. The same subject, same location, but the perspective produces two different results. Which story are you trying to tell? The second definition is physical perspective, and physical perspective is the physical depth, distance, and angle from the photographer to the subject of an image. By adjusting your own position in respect to the subject by kneeling, standing on a chair, or creating distance, you can have a big impact on the story that the image will tell. Physical perspective can also be used to show distance and depth in the environment. Once you have determined what the focal point of your photo is, including some of the foreground and or background in the image will anchor the subject to show distance and depth. Creating depth by changing your position or angle also achieves a more three-dimensional image with natural highlights and shadows. Photos taken straight on can lack that contrast and depth, making them appear dull or lifeless, creating a really flat image. Now that you have a better understanding of perspective, it is time to put the technique to use. Remember that everything that you include in your camera's viewfinder will end up on the final image and will tell the viewer something about the subject. It is up to you and your perspective to determine how much information you want to give the viewer.